Let's shift gears a little bit now. The Educators Union of South Africa wants government to allow teachers to arm themselves when reporting for duty. The union says government has constantly failed to secure educators in schools. Their call comes after a KwaZulu-Natal educator was shot dead yesterday morning at Masuku Primary School in Fulweni, south of Durban. For more on this, the Union Secretary General, Siphiwe Mpungose, joins us from our Durban studios. Also with me here in the studio in Johannesburg to weigh in on this discussion is the National Association of School Governing Body Secretary General, Matekane Matekane. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, gentlemen. Let's start in Durban with Siphiwe Mpungose. The Educators Union of South Africa definitely grabbing the headlines today by saying you want teachers to arm themselves and have guns. I assume this means that you've just had enough and teachers need to take their own safety into their own hands.
Yes. Teachers need to understand that their lives matters. We are people from families. We are breadwinners. We cannot be a statistic like they are treating us. Every time a teacher is gunned down, there will be condolences. We are sick and tired of the government that is careless about its own people. We are doing nation building as teachers, and no one seems to take that seriously. This is why we are saying to teachers, all teachers must rally behind the Educators Union of South Africa's call that they need to defend themselves. We cannot die with our arms folded anymore. We are taking our protection very seriously because our employer has repeatedly failed us in this regard. We cannot accept a situation where, as teachers, we are killed like flies and no one is taking responsibility. Even if you go around and look even at the factory shop level, at the gate there is security paid by the company. In the schools, there is no proper security. And yet these people who are taking decisions for us are protecting themselves. Go to the National Assembly, see how many police are there guarding them. Why we don't have police reservists in schools?
Let's leave it there with your statement. The National
Yes.
Association of School Governing Body Secretary General Matekane Matekane is in the studio with us. I'm sure you would understand the frustration of our teachers. We hear stories day in and day out. Teachers being threatened with knives, but if not in the area around the school, inside the school, that they don't feel safe, especially when you're dealing with kids who are a little bit older than at primary school level. How do you feel about this call being made by the Educators Union of South Africa?
Thank you very much, Marcel, and all your listeners. National Association of School Governing Bodies would like to send the deepest heartfelt condolences to the teachers who died violently in schools. And we also want to say to the families, our children, the parents and teachers, we are really disturbed by this type of violence in schools. However, a step has been taken because we did not just stay away and listen and watch. If you remember, Marcel, on the 12th of September 2018, the minister, we called for the minister called a national school safety summit, if you remember. And one of the resolutions that was taken there was to ensure that we have committees, school governing bodies have committees, and one of the committees must be the School Safety Committee. And that committee must be composed of parents, must compose of children, must compose of teachers. It must have police. And all the schools in South Africa must be linked to the police stations. Now, schools, and just coming to the question that you have raised, schools are gun-free zones. At no stage we can be seen calling for the schools to have the weapons of war. Then as much as teachers could be frustrated, but we can't have an answer with the wrong campaigns. And in this case, I think the teachers are very reckless in their statement to call for teachers to bring arms in schools.
But you understand the frustration that they deal with on a daily basis in operating in schools that are in communities that are rife with crime.
We are sympathizing with them, and hence I said we have already taken steps because violence can only end through dialogue. It cannot be ended through the guns. It cannot be ended through knives in schools. We really understand their frustration and we sympathize with them. But we are saying, even if we are frustrated, we are leaders, but we should be very careful about bringing chaos in schools, because once the teachers bring guns in schools, children will bring guns in schools. No one is going to teach anyone. Teachers are leaders. As I said, we really sympathize with them, and hence we send our condolences to those teachers. But we are saying we must be very careful because we are leaders. We must be very careful of what we said to the community, what we are saying to the public. And we are saying we condemn that statement with strongest terms. We don't want to hear this type of statement in schools.
Let's go to Durban now. Sipiwe, you've heard now the reply from the National Association of School Governing Bodies saying that they feel calling for teachers to be armed is indeed reckless. Is there understanding from you that in calling for teachers to be armed with guns, that it opens a completely different can of worms in terms of ensuring that teachers are licensed to carry guns, are trained to carry guns in the right way, that there's a safe place for those guns to be, especially when you have young children around it? Do you understand that brings with it its own long list of issues along with the issues of crime in these communities?
Let us set the record straight. The gentleman there just started where we are saying we are tired of the word condolences from them and the government. Because when the teacher is killed, when the teacher is stabbed, like David Makolobate in Northwest last year, when the teacher is beaten by those hooligans masquerading as learners, like it happened in Durban in Hammersdale last week, Thursday, these very same SGBs, they fold their hands, they keep mum. They only criticize when the teacher has done something wrong. We are saying to them, there is a solution. We've been telling Gogo Angie this, that they must deploy 2 SAPS police reservists per school in the country. That will solve all our problems, because schools are in communities which are engulfed of rape, engulfed of armed robbery, engulfed of assault, engulfed of murder. So schools are in that setup. This is why we have police stations in each and every community. That plays itself into the schools from Monday to Friday. Why can't we have police reservists? People who have been trained with our tax money in the police program. They can deal with all this. The drug wars that are happening in communities, they come to the school and you find these kids fighting each other, and when teachers try to intervene and do whatever that will calm the situation, they are caught in a crossfire. Where is gun-free when the teacher is gunned down? Where is gun-free? This man must not pay lip service. He must come to terms with the reality of South African schools and then face it because only the police can deal with this situation. We are not trained. We are not saying we want to bring guns into the school. We are saying since the government is failing us, we are going to defend ourselves, because there is a war here that has been declared on teachers. There is a war that is coming to play itself in the schools, apart from the communities. They are busy talking, telling us about that committee and that other committee. We are sick and tired of that. They must come to terms. Come on the ground, Baba. Let us go and face criminals inside the schools. Stop having meetings in boardrooms with air conditions and you theorize about what we are doing. We are faced with a reality here. We are being killed in schools. This is boiling my blood as I speak, because that gentleman knows nothing about what teachers are facing. He keeps on telling us there's that committee, they have taken the resolution gun-free. A teacher was killed inside the school with a gun. Where was gun-free? We cannot accept these kinds of thinking. We want leaders who will also listen. You can only be a leader if you can listen and you can be listened to. Teachers have been making a clarion call, I don't know for how many years now. They are not safe in schools. What else can we say?
Now, Siphiwe, if I could just take you back to the question I actually did ask you. I understand your frustration. I really do. I asked you that you have today called for government to allow teachers to arm themselves when reporting for duty. But now you've just said that that's not what you're calling for. You want the police or the government to ensure that 2 police reservists are appointed at each school. You're not calling for schools to be flooded with guns. Can you just explain then exactly what you're calling for? Because your statement today has sent shockwaves through South Africa.
No, shockwave must go on. We are saying our government is forcing us as teachers to take weapons and go and defend ourselves in the workplace. That is what we are saying. And we are saying to the teachers, don't go with your bare hands to school anymore, because your employer has betrayed you. Your employer is refusing to respond to the 2 SAPS call per school. The police reservists that we've been asking the employer to bring, they are not bringing them. The committee this gentleman is talking about, I'm not sure whether it's the higher committee or the lower committee. We have met Director Njobe, who sits in the National School Safety Committee with the National Commissioner of Police. Nothing has happened.
Would you like to reply to that, Matekane?
No, thank you very much, Marcel. I'm happy that they are retracting from the initial statement. That's what he just said, that they are not saying teachers should go to schools with guns. So I think I'm happy, even if you made a follow-up on that. I think that's what we are saying. We are really sympathizing with the teachers. I think we talk every day to say we must protect. We don't even want to protect teachers only in the schools. We are not only dealing with teachers in schools. Recently, children died. They were violently injured in school. One even died.
There was a case in Mossel Bay not so long ago where
that's correct.
Was stabbed.
So we are not. Then it therefore means if we say teachers arm yourselves, we must also call upon children to arm themselves. Now,
do you not find that to be a irresponsible statement?
It's very irresponsible. It's very irresponsible, reckless. As I said, it's a reckless statement. You can't say that as a leader. You can be how frustrated, but ensure that you have amicable answers, solutions. Well, I understand him. He's frustrated, and we sympathize with their frustration, and we support them. As the South African School Act indicates very clearly that as school governing body, we must support the teacher, we must support the principal, we must support the schools. But we cannot be seen saying we are supporting schools when we say, teachers, arm yourselves. Children, arm yourselves. Parents, arm yourselves. There are no more schools. It's something else. But we are saying we must get amicable solutions. And one of the solutions is the one that I've mentioned. We just have to strengthen them. And we have to call them as teacher unions to say, come, let's sit down and discuss. This is our problem. It's not a problem of government. It's not a problem of parents. It's not a problem of teachers. It's our problem in schools. How do we ensure that we protect teachers, we protect children, we protect everybody in the school, not only teachers, but if we allow these things to say, teachers, yes, we are supporting the teachers to arm themselves. When COSAS comes tomorrow and say, we also want our children to arm themselves, then we have got a chaotic institutions where you will find that now a teacher versus a child with a gun, and the children are no more going to respect the teachers in the school because they know that they must protect themselves against their teachers. And we see teachers as parents, local parentees, their parents. We understand their frustration, but we can't be seen as leaders raising those type of statements, in public.
Let me just go back to you for a closing statement, Siphiwe, from the Educators Union of South Africa. It sounds that in as much as there are certain disagreements in terms of an approach going forward between yourself and the National Association of School Governing Bodies, core to it is the safety of those who inhabit a school on a day-to-day basis. Are you hoping that a government will finally see the urgency of this matter and act appropriately so that you don't have to follow through with your call to teachers to take arms themselves?
We will appreciate. We should call upon the governing bodies to stand with us. We should be able to get their tangible support in this fashion. We have called as teachers' unions because when the teacher is gunned down, that teacher, irrespective of which union they belong to, that is our colleague, that is a teacher. We are losing as a nation. We are saying the governing bodies must support our call that 2 police reservists per school must be deployed immediately because only the police who understand the police code of conduct, who understand teachers. We are saying it is high time that the drug lords understand through their thick skulls that schools are no more their playing ground. We are going to take this war back to them as teachers. Maybe the gentleman did not understand me well. You, sir, unapologetically so, call upon all teachers to defend themselves. We want teachers to defend themselves until the 2 SAPA police reservists we see them in schools.
Okay.
Before that, we are going to defend ourselves. We are unapologetic.
That is Siphiwe Mpongose coming to us live from Durban. He is the Secretary General of the Educators Union of South Africa. In the studio, I had with me the National Association of School Governing Bodies Secretary General Makhanya Matakanya. Thank you so much for your part in the discussion this afternoon.